Greetings, chess fans. My name is Arturs Neiksans. I'm the leading Latvian Grandmaster, and I am coming back with a fresh episode of the video series Inside the Mind of a Chess Grandmaster. This game I played last weekend in Sweden, in Swedish Team Chess Championships. I was playing for my team, Stockholm Rockaden, against direct competitors for the gold medal. My opponent was Ruben Domingo Nunes, international master. So what happened in this game is that, again, it's a team event. There's 8 players in every team. And you don't really know who you are going to play because you can shuffle the lineup of the players, I believe, by 2 boards. So I was playing on the top board and I had to prepare essentially for 3 players. And I didn't really know it's going to be Domingo Nunes. So I did guess that probably it's going to be him who's going to be facing me. And I also did guess that he will play e4 because Ruben, he plays all kinds of openings. He likes c4, he plays Reti, sometimes he plays e4. And I tried to predict what he's going to do. And I came up with an idea, definitely is going to be e4. So he did play e4, but little did he know. I was prepping the entire morning against him, against e4. And I thought there is no better moment to finally, officially give it a try for the Scandinavian defense. So in case somebody doesn't know, at the moment I'm writing my 5th Chessable course, Scandinavian defense for black, together with Ukrainian Grandmaster Igor Kovalenko. We already wrote together a course on the Khan Sicilian. There you go. This is the 2nd project we're doing together. There you go. Play d5. You should have seen the shock in his face. So, of course, he tried to react very quickly. Queen takes on d5, knight c3. There you go. Queen a5. Now, this is going to be our proposed continuation in the Chessable course. By the way, speaking about the course, I don't yet have an update to you when it's going to come out because Chessable is quite slow lately with importing of the courses, and yeah, I don't know the current status when it's going to be released. I haven't even started to record the videos, but I would suppose late spring, maybe early June. Yeah, but I hope that May is going to be realistic. Anyway, going back to this game, here my opponent sat for a while, and I had correctly guessed. When somebody is surprised by surprise opening like the Scandinavian defense, by default, most of the players don't want to go for the most principal continuation. So the most principal continuation is definitely something d4, knight f6, knight f3, c6, and there's the either bishop c4, super popular continuation. White can play knight e5, white can play bishop d2, queen e2, a long castle. There's a lot of interesting lines here. But again, if you are facing a surprise, the natural desire is to somehow avoid the prep. And my opponent played g3. Well, I had checked what I had written for the course briefly. So here I decided to play knight f6, bishop g2, and e5. So the logic is, if white is not fighting for the center, I will fight for the center. But to be honest, I don't think even this is necessary. I could just play like g6, bishop g7, maybe bring back the queen on c7, accept a slightly worse position, but it's quite unbalanced. But okay, I played e5. My opponent played knight e2. Actually, I was quite surprised that he was playing so quickly because I definitely felt that he didn't expect this, so there's no need to hide it. And at least I thought if you're playing from the white's perspective, you should try to figure out, does the knight go to f3 or does it go to e2? But all right, so he played knight e2. I have to castle short, so I play bishop d6. Why bishop d6 and not e7? Because just in case in some lines I'm extra protecting the pawn on e5, so basically we'll see. Now my opponent rather quickly played d4, and I suppose he was happy to invite a trade, and then he could either harass my queen with like knight b3 or knight b5, attack the bishop on d6. So of course I didn't take it. And I knew from the course that as soon as white plays d4, you gotta play knight c6. But what I did not know, is it before the castle or after the castle? I think in the course, the lines we have written is short castle, and then white plays d4. So I was sitting here and trying to understand, how does it matter? Does it even matter here? Should I castle short here, or should I start with knight c6? So I spent some time here trying to understand what's happening. So I did play knight c6. And now there are some tricks. For example, if I play d5, I reserve an opportunity to play knight b4. And he cannot really get rid of the knight because I can play bishop f5. So I'm hitting the pawn on c2. He cannot take it because the rook on a1 is hanging. So that's the idea. I mean, of course, I can just play knight e7 as well. So here my opponent decided to play castles. I castled myself. And now here, while my opponent was thinking, I tried to recall, what on earth was I supposed to do after d5? Because I could not remember. So in the course, there are several combinations where the white knight is either on f3, it's on e2, and there was some other slower move as well. And after every single move, there was a different response, you know? So sometimes you go knight b4, sometimes you go knight e7, and sometimes you even go knight d4, sacrifice the pawn for some activity. So the latter I very quickly ruled out because I just give up the pawn and I don't think I have any activity for it. And I was like having conflicted feelings. Is it really knight b4 or is it knight e7? Because again, here I might just go bishop f5. So I was looking at this line and trying to understand. For example, he goes here. What happens if I go here? I hit the pawn on c2. And after rook c1, can I take the pawn on a2? You see, right? The rook a1, I just take on c3 and takes, and my queen is alive. But actually, yeah, this is a mistake. I could have played knight b4 because after bishop g5, bishop f5, he can take on f6 first. And here, at least, he has knight e4. My knight on b4 is disconnected. I cannot take on d5 because of very basic forks. So probably I would have figured out I have to play knight e7. But I think what I'm going to do after this game is that I'm going to update the course a bit, because lately I've been playing quite a lot of Scandinavian games myself. I'm playing online. I just played it over the board. And when I'm playing these lines myself, I have a better feeling that I have different ideas. Probably something I need to explain a bit more from a better angle in the course. But anyway, it didn't happen. He played bishop d2. And one thing I know for sure, bishop d2 is not in the course. So I'm thinking, okay, all right, there you go. So probably engine quite doesn't favor white's position. Let's just try to figure out, can I take the pawn on d4? Because I think it's very principled. As soon as your opponent offers a sacrifice, you don't reject it just because your opponent made it, but you try to prove him wrong. So what I'm thinking is, can I take the pawn on d4? So the first option, I'm thinking, can I take with the knight? Because sometimes, you know, the knight on c6 might be sort of disconnected from the game, so I have to check this. All right, so he probably is going to take it. He plays knight e5, he hits the queen. And here I realized, if I play queen b5, he's going to take on f6 and play bishop h6. So my rook is under attack and the pawn on d4 is under attack. And there's no way I can fight for the advantage here. I'm thinking, okay, what other squares do I have? I might play queen c5. Now the pawn on d4 will be protected because here, if white does this, I'm just fine. I'm going to play bishop f5, bishop g6, bishop f8, rook d8, and I'm chilling. But the problem is, after queen c5, he can play bishop b4, hitting my queen from this square. And now I play queen c4, he takes on f6, or d6 first, then takes on f6. Even if this is not perfect, at least immediately you can see that if somebody's calling the shots here, it's white. I mean, there's so many weaknesses in black's position. There's no way that I'm going to play for the victory here. So I realized I cannot take on d4 with the knight. So what about the pawn? I could take with the pawn. And now the difference is after knight e5, queen c5, there is no bishop b4 because my knight stands on c6. And I looked at this position from afar. To be honest, in the game, I was only calculating bishop h6, rook e8, and something like knight f4, threatening to play knight h5. But here the engine says even knight f4 immediately is very logical. And also the same threat, knight h5. So I just didn't like this. For example, here you strictly have to give away the bishop, play bishop f5. And here, engine likes c3. Which, by the way, kind of makes sense because there's rook c1 with so active bishops. There's no way, again, the black is fighting for something more than equality in this position. But I was also concerned that in some similar positions, white might have queen h5, pitting the bishop and the queen. So, queen c2, rook c1, bishop g6. This is how the engine finds the balance in this position, but I don't play just like that. So what happened here is that I realized I cannot do this. And also, by the way, queen b5 is the same reason, like in the other line, there's at least bishop h6, and he's going to take the pawn on d4, so no thank you. So what can I do? What alternatives do I have? So since knight e5 is a threat, how can I remove the queen? So I thought, okay, how about queen b6? And I was very optimistic about this position, because now the pawn on d4 and the pawn on b2 is under attack, and if he takes it, I don't know, knight e5 I suppose, knight c4 and bishop g4, we have a symmetrical pawn structure, but my pieces are feeling simply better. And if he plays something like knight a4, protecting the pawn and hitting the queen, I play queen a6, attack the knight instead, and now I collect the pawn on d4. So I was feeling very optimistic. But here, yeah, my opponent played bishop g5. And now I realized, okay, I see where this is going. Because unfortunately, I suppose I have to take on d4. Queen b2 is just too much. I mean, he can take on c3, take it, and at least some sort of rook b1 here, and I don't know, knight e5. So it just feels, again, too much. The black queen is completely disconnected from the game. The king is exposed. If this queen is going to slide over to the king side, I don't think I can defend this. So if I develop the bishop, the pawn on b7 is under attack. So no, thank you. Again, I can't do this. I can't take on b2. So I thought I have to take on d4. So there's no knight e5 or knight e4. My knight protects these squares. And now it's just a forcing line. So even though we got to this position, we have a completely symmetrical pawn structure on the board, I was still feeling, you know, maybe I can make something out of this position. So how about if I play bishop g4? It looks very logical. I'm pinning the knight. I want to play rook d8, rook e8, and make white suffer. And if he plays like h3 and g4, I thought this is still great. I mean, he's weakening the king, and I'm still going to play like rook e8, rook d8. The pawn on c2 is hit, so there's no way I'm worse. But the problem is, I noticed there's queen d2. And he's threatening queen g5. Hit the pawn and hit the bishop. And also, probably he wants to play something like knight f4, knight e5. So I just didn't believe in this position. So if I play knight e5, threatening with some fork ideas, which, by the way, after the game, this is what my opponent said. He wasn't sure about knight e5, but even this position just feels completely okay for white. Like, let's say I give a check. It seems as have a scary bishop, but now white plays knight e5, hits the queen, and queen g5 again is a big threat. So let's say I go here, he goes here, and after f6, there's knight f6. And white has something extra. So I didn't really calculate this line very deeply, and I just realized I cannot do this. I cannot play bishop g4, so probably I have to go bishop f5 with the same idea. Yeah, now he played knight e4 and offered the draw. So what should I do? I'm thinking, yeah, it's weird, right? I played the Scandinavian defense, and I wanted to get a sharper fight. I played a brand new opening, basically. I mean, I had played the Scandinavian defense before, but not queen a5, maybe in some list games a long, long time ago. And I thought, it's not really such a terrible result, because let's say if I take on d4, he takes with the queen, hits checkmate threat on g7, I have to take it, the pawn on b7 is hit, c6, c3, come on. Yeah, like it's completely symmetrical, so I don't see any reason to continue here, so I just accepted the draw. Yeah, and that's how it goes sometimes at a team events. You play for the team, and usually there's a strategy. The player with black tries to be solid, the player with white tries to be aggressive. And actually, after the game, we talked a bit also with some other teammates, and one of my teammates, Jon Ludwig Hammer, he was quite funny about my choice of the openings. He said, yeah, that's why you're something like along the lines like you're playing some crazy chess like in a team win. How dare you play the Scandinavian defense? Anyway, it turned out pretty well. And so I did play a draw, but my team won our direct competitors with a crushing score. And with this victory, we essentially secured the Swedish Team Chess Championships for the 3rd year in a row. Yeah, so the game was rather short one, but still marks as a symbolic game to return to the Scandinavian roots. Although, like I already said, I had played a number of Scandinavian games online, and based on the results, by the way, I think I'm going to make some updates to the upcoming course. But write your thoughts. How do you feel about the Scandinavian defense yourself? How do you play yourself against this G3 setup, or you don't face it yourself? Are you afraid of the main lines of the Scandinavian with knight e5 for bishop d2, queen e2, and long castle? So I'm curious, how do you think at the club level, how does the Scandinavian defense fare? Curious to hear your thoughts, and of course, as usual, if you like my video, I'll be very grateful if you're gonna smash on the like button and subscribe to my channel, as this is allowing me to grow as a content creator. Once again, thank you for watching. I'm finishing here. Take care.